glider pilot was considered quite an honor. The wearing of the red beret and wings was quite the envy of the conventional Tommy. However, in the next war, I know 3 people that are going to be missing. Me and the 2 chaps chasing me.
Henry Waltag piloted a glider to Arnhem in 1944. Today, he is a real estate agent in Beverly Hills, California. In 1944, Jacob Hoppenthal, a corporal in an artillery division, fought near Arnhem. Today, he is a lead man in a sheet metal shop in Southern California.
We had the feeling then that we had to win the war, and we felt we could. Our morale was good. It was only when we were alone, separated from others, that we would begin to lose confidence.
Near the Dutch town of Arnhem, the lives of Sergeant Waltag and Corporal Hoppenthal came together for a brief moment. Now, 2 fighting men, 1 Englishman, 1 German, relive that moment in history. I'm Jim Bishop. In late August 1944, General Eisenhower gives the go-ahead to Field Marshal Montgomery to launch a thrust through the lowlands of Holland and leapfrog the Rhine, Germany's last natural defense barrier. For this, one of the most difficult airdrops ever planned is put into operation. Operation Market Garden, as it is coded, calls for the laying of a carpet of airborne troops along a narrow corridor extending 60 miles into Holland, from Eindhoven in the south to Arnhem in the north. The 2nd British Army will then push up this carpet, opening a passage into Germany through the northern plains. With Arnhem in Allied hands, the German Siegfried Line is outflanked, Holland cut in 2, and the Rhine River crossed in a single dramatic leap. It is a daring plan with strong elements of risk, but if it should succeed, the war could possibly end within a matter of weeks. Spearheading this attack will be the crack troops of the Allied Airborne Army. Attached to the 1st British Air Landing Brigade is glider pilot Sergeant Henry Waltag.
My job is to take the troops and land them behind the enemy lines. In other words, instead of going to war by bus or truck or ship, one goes to war by glider. Rumor has it that General Eisenhower is not in favor of this at all. It is Montgomery who has insisted on the operation, which is very daring. It's going to be sticky, you know, but what the hell.
Stationed in the Netherlands are 400,000 Germans. The Arnhem area is held by elements of the 9th and 10th SS Panzer Divisions. The number and quality is much greater than Allied intelligence suspects. One of the Wehrmacht soldiers ordered to defend Holland is Corporal Jacob Hoppenthal of the 17th Artillery Division.
I am in Breda, which is a replacement center. As a Waffen-SS, we are sort of as a special force, something like the Marines or the paratroopers. I can't say I feel better than any other soldier. We all have the same fighting spirit. My job is to act as a messenger. Sometimes I ride a bicycle, sometimes a motorcycle.
An essential part of the Arnhem defenses is its many anti-aircraft emplacements. These, along with the nearby Luftwaffe bases, make an air penetration particularly difficult. D-Day for Operation Market Garden has been set for September 17th. The battle plan specifies that the 1st British Airborne Division, under the command of Major General Urquhart, will take the bridge at Arnhem. The American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions under Generals Gavin and Taylor will take the bridges to the south at Nijmegen and Eindhoven. Once these strategic bridges are taken intact, it is estimated that the British Second Army should reach Arnhem within 2 days. On the matter of weather, Allied intelligence is optimistic. Conditions in early autumn are considered reliable.
Before takeoff, our cooks do us really proud. We consume many cups of hot tea, this time spiced with rum. It tastes absolutely wonderful. I am carrying members of the 1st Airborne Division, veterans of the North African campaign, and all very fine fellows. They march smartly into the glider and sit there, nervously awaiting takeoff.
Sunday, September 17th is clear and sunny, with a forecast of more of the same. At 8 a.m., 4,600 British and American aircraft are readied at 22 airfields in England.
It is a lovely day as we head for the North Sea. The English countryside has never looked more beautiful. The boys feel fine now and paint obscene words on the sides of the glider. Some of the tow lines break and 4 or 5 gliders go down. There's very little you can do to get out of a glider. There's no way to escape. I wouldn't mind going down over England now, but not over the North Sea.
The crossing is made with little interference. As one pilot puts it, it is a piece of cake.
I look up suddenly and see aircraft and gliders approaching. What is it all about? Where are they coming from? The gliders swinging back off the big planes reminds me of beginners who can't fly very well. Everybody watches. Then we realize that the men in the planes are Tommies, and the cannons begin.
The leading gliders have pulled off and are making their way to the landing zones. It's rather like Piccadilly Circus. There are fighters above us, bombers that tow us, and Dakotas dropping parachute troops. It's rather congested, to say the least. Where shall we land? We just cannot go down willy-nilly. The best thing to do is to get out of this traffic jam pretty quickly. I find a spot, put on full flaps, and head my nose straight down.
Of the 359 gliders that have taken off from England, only 40 failed to land on Dutch soil. It has been a textbook drop. September 17th, 1944. The British paratroopers have landed 6 to 8 miles to the west of Arnhem due to the heavy German flak concentrations around the city. Men of the 1st Parachute Brigade set off for the highway bridge straddling the Rhine. Other units in the first drop will remain near the landing zones until the second lift has arrived.
It is left to our discretion as to what we will do. We can either try to make our way back or stay with the chaps we've brought in. We decide to stay. There's bound to be a bit of excitement.
The Germans recover quickly from their initial surprise. Reinforcements are rushed in. Orders go out that the bridges are to be held at all costs and that further landings can be expected and must be firmly resisted. The invaders' intentions are confirmed when the Germans accidentally discover a complete copy of the Allied battle plan. The warning on the first page, not to be taken into the air, had been ignored by a nameless casualty. The British have managed to obtain a foothold at the southern end of the Arnhem Bridge. But as darkness falls and fresh German reinforcements arrive, it becomes evident that the northern end will be more difficult to secure. In the Nijmegen area, the American 82nd Airborne has managed to take its preliminary objectives. The town of Graves has been captured and the Maas River crossed. At Eindhoven, the American 101st Airborne has approached the town on schedule, but has been stopped by strong German resistance just south of it. Units of the British Second Army have crossed the Dutch border and have begun their drive northwards, preceded by rocket-firing typhoons. While other operations further south are being carried out with relative degrees of success, the situation at Arnhem is growing hourly more difficult. The streets have begun to resemble a battlefield as guns and equipment are moved into private dwellings. The fighting is becoming vicious as German reinforcements and armored equipment pour into the area. Communications among the hard-hit British units is fragmentary, but it is apparent that the bridge is being held against overwhelming odds. Reinforcements are now vital if the bridgehead is to be maintained. The next day, in the early afternoon, the second airdrop takes place. Armed with the Allied battle plan, the Germans are prepared. Ground opposition is heavy. Many of the parachute troops are picked off as they descend. Others land in trees where their lines become hopelessly entangled. One of the British officers calls it a grossly untidy situation.
Until they come, everybody grabs a rifle. The planes are so low, one can shoot at them from point-blank range. We have captured a glider full of men and equipment. They are young, most of them. I'm curious to see them. I almost want to touch them, to feel what the enemy is like. I've never seen the enemy before. We say nothing to them. Finally, our sergeant major takes them away.
The fighting to the west of Arnhem is now house to house, garden to garden, cellar to cellar. Apprehension spreads among the beleaguered British units. Ammunition is running low. The 1st British Airborne stands to be wiped out if more reinforcements do not arrive soon.
We have been fighting without food for 3 days. Most of the supplies parachuted to us have been grabbed by the Germans, who now occupy our drop zones.
There's much fighting going on not far from us, but our knowledge of the enemy's movements is confined to the settings on our guns. We make a little adjustment to the left or to the right, but we can't really see what we are shooting.
The British grip on the Arnhem Bridge is slipping. German tanks push into the area at a swift rate. The British force has been whittled down. Their one hope is that they can hold on until Second Army units push up from the south.
We are being gradually overrun by the Germans. We are here without food, or water, or ammunition, or tanks. We have nothing but 7-pounders and small arms. I can't call the Germans cowards. They should come in and overpower us, but they don't.
By September 21st, the bridge at Nijmegen has been crossed, and British land forces reach the southern bank of the Rhine, opposite Arnhem. At this moment, the German panzers launch a furious counterattack. The British are forced off the bridgehead, and German tanks push across unopposed.
There are Germans across the street. One of them gets on a loudspeaker and calls for us to surrender.
Gentlemen of the 1st Airborne Division, you are gallant, wonderful soldiers. However, you are completely surrounded. Your officers are captured. If you come out with your hands up, we will treat you according...
As this crowd talks on, we gather up every available weapon and at a given signal, let go with everything we've got.
The remnants of the 1st British Airborne are now confined to a 450-acre perimeter just outside of Arnhem. There is the smell of battle everywhere. The Germans have nicknamed it Der Kessel, or the Cauldron, because it is under constant bombardment. On the evening of September 21st, General Urquhart sends an emergency communique to Allied headquarters. Balance of division in very tight perimeter. Our casualties heavy. Resources stretched to utmost. Relief within 24 hours vital.
I have lost 2 of my best friends. I saw one of them just after he had been hit by a shrapnel. I said, "John, how are you doing? What do you want me to tell your wife?" He did not speak, he was dead. At that moment, I could feel anger welling inside me. I had lost someone close, someone who had been with me a long time.
During the last 3 days, every effort has been made to link up units of the British Second Army with the battered defenders at Arnhem, but without success. Now plans for the evacuation of 1st Airborne are put into effect. The 1st Polish Parachute Brigade has obtained a beachhead on the Rhine. Together with units of the British 43rd Infantry Division, they push toward the Cauldron, where they will assist the 1st Airborne in its withdrawal.
We've been told to destroy whatever weapons we are going to leave behind and take only our personal weapons with us. We crawl on our bellies to the main road. We are going around in circles, trying to find our way through to the river. A figure steps out of the shadows and says, "I say, you chaps, are you for the river?" And we answer, "Yes." "Well, follow that white line," he says. They've laid white tape on the ground to guide us to the river. .100 men are able to reach the safety of the south bank. By morning, further evacuation is impossible. German machine guns sweep the river. On September 26th, panzers move into the Cauldron unopposed. The once peaceful city of Arnhem lies in ruins. Sergeant Henry Waltag, wounded at Arnhem, will escape to England, where he will spend the 8 remaining months of the war. Corporal Jacob Hoppenthal will later fight in Czechoslovakia and at Lubeck, Germany, where he is taken prisoner by the British. Of the 10,000 paratroopers who have landed north of the Rhine, over 1,100 will remain behind forever, and more than 6,000 are captured by the Germans. Operation Market Garden was divided into 2 parts. Market was the airdrop. Garden was the ground operation. The first failed. The second was a success. The men at Arnhem, in the words of Churchill, have performed a feat of arms which will be remembered and recounted as long as the virtues of courage and resolution have power to move the hearts of men.